I will do my best to boost the sound. Sadly, no closed captions yet, but I have boosted there. And once I also have this one. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. And welcome to the show, folks.
Good morning. Have y'all had enough time to talk? We ready? Okay. All right. Is this a negotiated plea? All right. Go ahead.
Would you like us to stand at the podium or?
It doesn't really matter. The table's fine. Yeah, do please use the mic.
Okay. You hear me okay? You can hear me, Madam Court Reporter?
This is the case of Georgia versus Mr. Jimmy Winfrey, aka Mr. Roscoe. He's charged in indictment 22 SC.
Just a forewarning. When the other starts to speak, there's going to be booming sound. But this, I can at least see, so we can hear Mr. Abbate.
22 SC 183572, counts 1, 24, 25, and just for your honor's edification, the state will be dismissing count 26.
Okay. And I don't actually have a copy of the indictment in front of me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Winfrey, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matters pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you state your true, correct, and legal name for the record, sir?
Jimmy.
Yeah, here he does something fun when he actually starts spelling out his name.
J as in jam, I as in igloo, M as in money, M as in multi, and Y as in young. Middle name Carlton. C is in currency, A is in Atlanta, R is in rich, L is in long, T is in Tommy, O is in options, N is in Nancy. The last name is Winfrey, W is in win, I is in incomplete, N is in Nancy, F is in free, R is in royalty, E is in entertainment, and Y is in young. Jimmy Carlton.
That was entertaining.
That was creative.
Thank you.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine, sir?
No, sir.
Is there any medication that you take regularly or on a daily basis that you have not taken today that would affect your ability to understand why you're before this honorable court?
No.
And Mr. Winfrey, can you tell me how old are you, sir, and how far have you gone in school?
I'm 34 years old. I made it with the 8th grade education. When I went to prison, I attained a high school diploma through Stratford Institution.
Okay.
Private college.
Do you have your GED?
High school diploma.
Okay. And are you able to read, write, and understand the English language, sir?
Yes.
Do you understand that you are charged with the following offenses in indictment 22 SC 183572, count 1, RICO, count 24, which is the violation of the Drug Act for the possession of oxycodone, and then count 25, which is the possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. And then you understand that the state will be no process count 26.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about that for your attorney, Ms. Miller?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges? And if you pled not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes, sir.
Have you had enough time to understand and speak with your attorney, Ms. Miller, about all the facts and circumstances of your case and why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
And do you need any additional time to discuss any questions or concerns that you have in relation to the plea that you're before this court to take today?
No, sir.
And are you satisfied with the services that Ms. Miller's provided?
Absolutely.
And Ms. Miller, do you waive formal reading of the indictment,
I do.
as well as any defects in the indictment, including any with respect to your client's name for the purposes of this plea?
I do.
And Mr. Winfrey, has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge you'll be pleading guilty to?
Yes, sir.
And did Ms. Miller advise for count one, the conspiracy to violate RICO, minimum is 5 years, the maximum is 20 years?
Yes, sir.
And for the possession of oxycodone, did she advise the minimum is 1 year, the maximum is 3 years?
Yes, sir.
And lastly, count 25, did Ms. Miller advise that the minimum for possession of a firearm by convicted felon is 1 year, the maximum is 10 years?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any questions about the minimum and maximum sentence you could potentially be facing based on your plea of guilty here today?
No, sir.
And Mr. Winfrey, do you understand this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means the state and your counsel, Ms. Miller, will make a joint recommendation to the court as it relates to a sentence, but the court does not have to follow that sentence and can sentence you to the maximum on each charge and run the maximum for each charge consecutively or one after another if she sees fit.
Yes.
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 And do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal court, sir?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Winfrey, do you understand that if you're not a United States citizen, a guilty plea will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation?
Yeah, these are standard stuff. Yes, Mr. Peewee, for you who don't know, Mr. Winfrey, back in the day, remember in the trial when they were talking about a plea deal that was overturned in Georgia Supreme Court? That's the guy. He is the guy whose plea deal was overturned. He took a bad plea deal for the Lil Wayne bus shooting back in the day. And so that first plea was overturned. He had to stay in jail all that time. And then, after 5 years, he got an Alford plea of time served. And then they rearrested him for the same crime under the RICO Act and put him back in jail for the same crime. Why? Because the Georgia RICO allows it. He already paid his debt to society with a bad plea deal. He has spent more or less the last 7.5 years in jail for something, in my opinion, there's nowhere near evidence he actually did. But they forced a plea deal on him, kept him in jail, and now here we are again. And I understand him. More or less, he's saying, please just let me out. I'm done with this. Well, yeah, I know he has gang charges from before, but the Lil Wayne bus shooting, there's no way that could be proven in any way, shape, or form that he actually did it. So this is that guy. And now the state, by having him in jail for years on end, is forcing him to a plea deal again. This is Georgia justice. Put people in jail until they plead out.
Regardless of any advice given to you by your attorney or anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses by entering a plea of guilty here today?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Winfrey, do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights: the right to trial by jury, the right to remain silent, to not incriminate yourself, the right to confront witnesses against you, the right to the assistance of counsel hired by you or court appointed if you were unable to afford an attorney at the trial of your case.
Oh, sorry. Brandon, thank you so much for your $10 super chat. Saying, oh, and Peanut say hello. And also I saw earlier. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Brandon, member for 14 months. This should cheer you up. Are you going to troll me again today? If any of my haters are watching this, I have 2 rules regarding trolling. Be funny, be correct. And Brandon, when he trolls, he's both funny and usually correct.
The right to presumption of innocence, the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence, the right to subpoena witnesses and to compel the production of evidence, the right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt by the state of Georgia, and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after trial. You understand that you are waiving or giving up all of those rights by pleading guilty here today?
Yes, sir.
And has anyone, Mr. Winfrey, forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea before this honorable court here today?
No, sir.
And is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you're in fact guilty?
Yes, sir.
And as it relates to the charges, how do you plead to count 1 and indictment number 22 SC 183572, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act?
I plead guilty, Your Honor.
And how do you plead to count 24, the possession of oxycodone?
I plead guilty, Your Honor.
And lastly, how do you plead to count 25, which is possession of a firearm by a convicted felon?
I plead guilty, Your Honor.
And Mr. Winfrey, is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with full knowledge?
Yeah. The only way this prosecution can get a guilty verdict regarding RICO is by plea deals. Because it seems like when they put it to the jury went, oh, no, not buying it.
Knowledge of all the charges against you, sir?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that you may only have a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that you have only 4 years from today for a felony charge to file what's called a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this guilty plea?
Yes, sir.
And is that something that you and Ms. Miller spoke about before today and that you fully understand?
I'm understanding all my rights of the guilty plea.
All right, let me just add, in addition, you have 30 days from today to file a direct appeal, and you have until the end of this term of court to file a motion that would seek to withdraw your guilty plea. Doesn't mean any of those would be granted, but those are the time limits. Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Your Honor, this time I believe you have the indictment, but I would tender the indictment.
Yes.
Had the case proceeded to trial,
Yeah. Oh, this is infuriating what Abbate is going to say now. Because I do almost believe he feels a bit shame when reading what he is about to read.
again, as it relates to this defendant, Mr. Winfrey, the state would have been able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that between the dates of January 24th, 2013, May 18th, 2022, Mr. Winfrey did participate and conspire while being associated with YSL to acquire directly or indirectly interest in United States currency and other.
Yeah. Abbate actually has to read the indictment and claim that in a trial they would prove RICO beyond a reasonable doubt. And We all know that's a lie. But this is a plea hearing. Mr. Winfrey is accepting it because he just wants to go home. He's taken a plea for things he's already been convicted of. Well, he already took a plea of.
Personal property through a pattern of racketeering, as well as did conspire to conduct and participate directly, indirectly through that enterprise of YSL through a pattern of racketeering in or by through the furtherance of the conspiracy by with the objectives of preserving, protecting, and enhancing the reputation of YSL and the power and territory of that enterprise through the racketeering activity, which included murder, assaults, and other threats of violence, as well as obstructing law enforcement investigations and court proceedings through witness intimidation and attacks upon law enforcement, Your Honor. As it relates to counts 24 and 25, factual basis that would be for the plea on both of those counts. Mr. Winfrey on July 10th, 2021 was pulled over here in the city of Atlanta. A traffic stop was conducted while he was in a 2021 Dodge Durango. During the traffic stop, the officer smelled a strong odor of marijuana, to which at that point the vehicle was searched, and there were several grams of marijuana, which he's not.
I've read about some cases going up the judicial path regarding traffic stops and all of a sudden smelling marijuana. So, traffic stop for what? And everything around it. And also, smelling marijuana. I mean, sometimes cops claim in trials, in court, in affidavits, that they were behind a car on a main freeway. That car was 2 cars away, but they still smelled the odor of marijuana and pulled that one over, which is completely bullcrap. Now, this probably is more of a correct one. But it's hopefully change is on its way.
Charged with found in the car in a book bag, as well as 5 pills that were later tested by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, testing positive for oxycodone.
Oxycodone is sometimes what I take for my arthritis. I also have other stronger things, prescription. But I understand why. It's not that good to drive with it. It's not that good because it makes you a bit sleepy.
Also within the glove compartment of the vehicle, a Glock 21 .45 caliber handgun was located. Mr. Winfrey had a prior felony conviction at a Cobb County for participation in criminal street gang activity and aggravated assault and other related charges as it relates to the shooting of Little Wayne's tour bus, Your Honor. That would be the factual basis as it relates to the charges in which Mr. Winfrey is pleading guilty to today. As it did state, because of that felony conviction, there's one other felony conviction out of Florida. It was also a drug conviction where he was sentenced on November 5th, 2020, and successfully completed that sentence, which ended on November 4th, 2023. This time, I apologize. The recommendation to the court that we made as a joint recommendation by counsel relates to count 1, 10 years to serve, 2 years credit for time served, release some time served, the balance to be served on probation, with the special condition that the defendant no contact with any of his co-defendants and any witnesses that trials as we move forward, as well as the normal standard conditions that we must not violate the law, no firearms as he is a good felon, and, maintain employment.
Okay, so with regard to him not having any contact with future witnesses, are you gonna put a list together for me to put in the conditions?
Yes, Your Honor, we will provide the same list that we used during the prior pleas. As
Okay.
it relates to Mr. Blake, I'll give those to,
All right.
Ms. Roscoe.
Okay. Okay, so, and what is the recommended sentence for the other two counts?
Concurrent sentence, Your Honor, as relates to count 24, 2 years to serve, time served, at least some time served, and as relates to possession of a firearm, convicted felon, 7 years probation to run concurrent with count 1.
Okay. All right, Ms. Miller, is there anything the defense wants to put on the record?
Yes, Judge, thank you for the opportunity.
First of all, thank you, Tracy Fagan, for being a member for 2 months. Thank you so much. So yeah, the recommendation from the prosecution is basically time served and probation. But here comes a bit more interesting information from the defense, because Peewee Roscoe is an artist, quite successful one. Now, he is not young thug level of success, but he does have success with music and tours and everything. So
Mr. Winfrey is prepared to take this plea today. As Your Honor is aware, he has been in custody continuously for 18 months. Our position is certainly counts 24 and 25. He was in possession of the pills and the marijuana, and the gun was in the car. As it relates to the RICO, he did want to make clear to the court, understanding the nature of a conspiracy, much of that stuff that he is not charged with, he does not have specific knowledge of. However, he does understand that there is a sufficient factual basis for his plea to the RICO count. And, as one could imagine, he is ready to go home and put this behind him.
how she phrases that, in my opinion, makes this another Alford plea regarding the RICO.
He has known Jeffrey Williams since he was a little boy. They grew up together in the same community, the Cleveland Avenue community. And much of this, as we have learned, started as kids who were friends and developed into a good deal of success for Mr. Winfrey and Mr. Williams in the music industry. That is what I would like the court to focus on. Mr. Winfrey has been gainfully employed in the music industry as a management professional. He manages talent. He also has successfully booked and promoted tours. That is the line of work that he will continue to be in while he is on bond. Of course, he has a criminal history, and so his options for employment are somewhat limited, but he has carved out a profession in this world, and he looks forward to continuing that. There are many other artists that he works with, and he hopes to re-engage in that upon his release. My understanding from just to clarify for Mr. Winfrey, to the extent that, for example, if Mr. Winfrey is working with Kendrick Lamar, who is a famous artist, and Jeffrey Williams, should he be on a tour together, that the no contact means no personal contact. There may be occasions where they are in the same arena together because of a tour that involves multiple artists. I don't know that this will happen, Judge, but I am anticipating this and just want to be really clear for Mr. Winfrey's sake and for the record's sake that the prosecutor is intending for there to be no personal contact between these two individuals for the duration of Mr. Winfrey's sentence and/or Mr. Williams' sentence. As I understand, he has a similar condition. What we don't want is if, for example, Mr. Winfrey is able to book a tour with another artist whose management company is negotiating with him, and it relates to Mr. Williams, that he would be in violation. He just wants to understand the scope of it. I've discussed this with the prosecutor. The prosecutor has indicated that his intent with this no contact is no personal contact, no personal phone calls, no personal text messages, no personal communications with Mr. Williams for the duration of his sentence. But it does not mean that if, for example, there is a professional opportunity where his lawyers are negotiating with Mr. Williams's lawyers, that would not be, for example, a violation of his bond. And just wanted to make that point for the record, Your Honor. But he is absolutely understanding that no contact means no personal contact whatsoever. And to the extent there is a professional reason to have contact, that will be done through third parties with Mr. Williams's third-party representatives. In addition to that, for clarity's sake, Mr. Winfrey understands that he is to have no possession whatsoever of any firearms. However, due to the nature of his work, there are occasions where professional security are hired, and I mean professional licensed security companies, as well as off-duty officers who may be around him and in possession of a gun. I've discussed this with the prosecutor. The prosecutor agrees that the no possession of a firearm certainly means no personal possession for Mr. Winfrey, but would not be implicated if, for example, a off-duty officer is working security. This does not mean, to use the prosecutor's expression, peanuts on security. He has a gun. The understanding is that the security would be a professional licensed security company and/or an off-duty officer. But with those two clarifications, Your Honor, we would ask that the court accept the plea as negotiated.
All right. And is that an accurate rendition of the understanding of the special conditions? All right. And can y'all clarify for me how long Mr. Winfrey has been in custody on these charges?
Judge, the screen is showing August 13, 2023, the booking screen. Not sure what it was before.
July 13th.
So about 17 months.
That's accurate, Judge.
All right. So are y'all intending for the 2 years to be commuted to time served?
Yeah, Your Honor, we could do, if you'd rather, well, you did a year, we could do 10 serving.
16 months.
Yes.
Okay.
That way.
All right. All right. I find there to be a factual basis for this plea, and I accept it as freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered with an understanding of all of the consequences. And I am going to sentence in accord with the recommendation as just modified on count 1, 10 years to serve 16 months with credit for time served, balance probated. On count 2, are we just saying 16 months to serve, credit for time served? And on count 3, not count 2, count 24, the second count. And then on count 25, 7 years probation, all of those sentences to run concurrently. Special conditions of your probation, you're to have no personal or social contact with any of the co-defendants in this case, and no contact whatsoever with any of the witnesses in any future trial on this indictment. You need to maintain lawful employment throughout the period of your probation, and you may not possess any firearms, with the exception that you are allowed to be around professional security with firearms to the extent that that's necessary for your lawful employment. And with regard to the no contact with the co-defendants, again, there's the exception for what is necessary for your lawful employment with regard to, being around them, but there's to be absolutely no personal or social contact, and to the extent possible, any work necessitated contact should be through third parties. All right. And then any technical violations can be handled by probation's options management. I'm going to have, hopefully there won't be any other violations, but back to me with any violations. And I'm going to tell you some version of the same thing that I said to Mr. Williams. You are in an industry where a whole lot of young people watch with great attention every detail of everything that y'all do on and off stage. And with that kind of influence and audience, you really should be trying to set a good example and an example to young kids to do something other than.
Yeah, this is Judge Whittaker's pep talk to the defendant. Now, regarding the plea deal, she basically has no choice, but, well, she can always say, yeah, she has the authority to say, nah, I'm not accepting the plea deal, and assert her own sentence. But with all the rules and statutes, she's very, very limited. Very, very limited. So 16 months time served plus and then the rest probation. That is as good as he could get from a plea deal. Now, would this have gone to trial with the drugs and the gun in his car? Could have probably could have done worse. Could have been worse. We don't know. He made his choice, and that's it. But this is Judge Whittaker's pep talk, and I must say I'm not a fan of it. She's done this with every plea deal.
What you grew up with that landed you in jail very early in your life, and I commend you for having taken the time that you were in jail to further educate yourself and things like that. But y'all are very influential, and try to use that for good. All right, good luck to you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey wanted to say something to Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank God, Your Honor. I thank you for giving me a second chance at life. And I understand totally what you said, and I was speaking to Tanya about that as well, as far as making a positive influence and allowing myself to be fruit to my community instead of poison, the way that we grew up, of the way that we thought was right, and we learned what is right. And so now I'm trying to apply right, and I appreciate you for helping me take the first step towards that. And I won't let you down by being the change. I'm going to start by changing with myself. And thank you.
Good. Thank you. Best of luck to you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Thank you, Mr. Abbate. All right. We'll see y'all at least back on the 17th, if not before. If y'all have any other pleas in the meantime that are ready to be presented, just let my chambers know. All right. Thanks.